your best sometimes isn't actually good enough. And that's something that keeps coming back around. Do you know? So, this is a bit random. So, do you know when you're walking and you will initially start off on a walk and there's 8 billion things going around in your mind, and then as you walk more and more, your mind will calm down, and then you're left with just quiet, and you get to enjoy being outside or wherever. Unless you're going to listen to a podcast or music or something and not listen to your own thoughts. But with that said, it's kind of, so this morning, get up, do my check-ins, respond to clients, and there's something that come up a few times of where a couple people had said that they'd done their best, and sometimes your best just isn't good enough to get the thing you want. Now, what I mean by that is there's a lot of times when people have a goal or they have just something they're trying to achieve, which is another word for goal, I guess, and they think that doing their best is going to get them there because everything's all about just try your hardest, just do your best, whatever. But sometimes that's not enough, and the reason that is because you often don't have the skills or even the prerequisite ability to be able to do the thing. So for example, say you get somebody who is new to training and they want to get jacked, and they say they are doing their best. Now, is their best enough to get them the best results possible? Chances are probably not, because they probably don't have the skills that they need to actually execute the right tasks. So their best might be going to the gym and trying really hard. But that's not really enough to get to the outcome that they want. So they're going to need to upskill and apply their best efforts to see whatever the result is that they want. You can apply that same thing to all sorts of stuff. So, like with the business stuff, something I've been thinking about is if somebody's doing better than you in something, they're doing something you're not. Now, it might be that they're doing the same activities day to day, but it might be the way they're doing them. Or it might be that they have skills and other attributes that you don't have, and your best effort with your current software and hardware, your current brain, your current skills, it just might not be enough. So like if I was to start right now, decide I wanted to start, I don't know, crypto trading or something like that, I could give it my best effort and not get the same returns or anywhere near the same returns as someone who's an expert in it. Maybe a bad example, but it's a thing that is something that I end up talking to the member site quite a lot about, is the disconnect between reality and your expectations. And I think you need to bridge that gap in your own mind and have some self-awareness of where you're at and where you are lacking. The problem there is the less you know, the less you know. So you think you know more than you do. But that's where education and obviously getting someone who's an expert in whatever the thing is can help. So this also ties into, I got a message this morning about somebody who is trying to get leaner and trying to get in better shape. So real straightforward stuff, or what I think is straightforward stuff. He told me he is following the scientific method, and so he's only doing sets of sort of 3 to 6 reps, 1, maybe 2 sets per exercise, full body, every other day. And like, as an approach, that can work, but to call that the scientific method does not make sense. The scientific method, like as in actual science, not Instagram science, you have a hypothesis, you test that hypothesis. You then might use the information you gather from that to infer something about other situations. You've not proved them. All you've actually proved is the thing that you've tested, the hypothesis you've tested. And when you get a lot of the new band of science-based lifting, which is not actually science-based lifting, so we need a better name for them, of where they're doing these modified lifts, usually with cuffs for some reason. Well, I know the reason that they're saying, usually with cuffs, they're missing the context of everything else, and it's that thing of that might be what they think is best, and that's a case of where their best is not good enough. They need more new skills so that they can actually apply the right effort towards something that would get them the results they want. Now, with that said, with the science-based lifters, I would expect the majority of the people I see doing it to actually get pretty good results. And that might sound backwards, but the reason is it's almost always very, very new lifters with very, very, very little muscle mass, very, very little time in the gym. And so when you have somebody in that situation, they're going to grow no matter what. So it's probably, of all the times to do it, it's probably not a bad time, because you can do anything. If you want to do these funky, weird exercises, might help you with self-confidence and stuff, doing them in the gym, not caring about weird looks and everything else. But the problem becomes when you are only training with partial range of motion, funky movements. As soon as you get strong, it just becomes impractical. So we've got Keenan flaps is a common one. So essentially you're here and you're pulling down, and you would have cuff attached to your upper arm, cable coming from up ahead. Now, if you're a relative beginner lifter and you can do 4 pull-ups for argument's sake, you might be able to do these Keenan flaps with the full stack for a good set of it, 6 to 8 reps. Fantastic. That's going to be sufficient for you to actually get a response. However, what happens when you can do 10 pull-ups with 30 kilos attached? What are you going to do then? Because how are you going to load that tiny range of motion heavy enough to actually be able to train and actually get some progress out of it? Combine that with how you're going to support yourself, where you're going to get the weight stack high enough, and even just the force on your arm of where the cuff is. It's going to be super impractical, and that's why I actually don't think it's a bad thing for these new, very, very new to the gym lifters to be doing these kinds of things, because they're not going to be able to do them when they finally get strong. I say when, it should probably be more like if they finally get strong, because it's just going to be impractical. And so anyway, these are just some rambling rants whilst I'm out walking this morning. I'm not sure if we'll do the full day or we'll just have this as its own solo video, but you know how I said about sometimes your best isn't good enough. So my own goals at the minute, physically, just get lean. That's going well. Haven't really got any complaints there. Rehab, that's going real well. Can't complain about that. Obviously there's good and there's bad days. So physical goals, kind of like just get on with them. So every morning I wake up, I do this walk. It's very nice. It's just like an hour and a half. It's about 9,000 steps. And then by the time I've done that and then just normal life, I usually end up about 12,000, which makes it easier to stay on track. The first sort of half an hour or so I've got signal, so I'll keep replying to client messages and stuff, and then I'll have like an hour of uninterrupted walk. I just thought I shall do this because one of my other goals is business wise. I'm actively making an effort now to grow the business. I have the capacity, the mental capacity to do it. We've sold the gym now, that's all sorted. I've stopped doing some consulting stuff that I was doing as well. So now it's just a case of doing this. Morning. Cyclists, not always as social as other walkers. Maybe didn't hear me, maybe don't want to be on camera. Anyway, so business is the next thing I'm actively trying to grow and scale. I'm at the point now of where I could probably take about, so 2 clients have gotten pregnant, which is fantastic. That was one of their goals. But so they're stopping at least for the next six or so months, because they don't need me for their coaching to do minimal exercise during those periods. And anyway, so I've got a couple of clients who are finishing. So including that, realistically, it could take maybe like seven more clients one-to-one would work for right now. And then after that, so on average, my clients stay for about 3.5 years. So that means that based on how many I've got, tends to have one client leave roughly once a month. So someone who started a long time ago. Sometimes it's often none, and then be 2, 3, 4 at once. But anyway, so that's very stable. What I've been working on is the member site, which you'll have seen me talk about in the last video, more and more of these videos. But a big part of that is making content for the member site and for advertising. And now I don't think I'm an expert at Instagram by any means. I'm definitely not. But we've gone from 1,000 followers to 12,000. I'm just looking to see if there's a deer. There is not. It's just a big rabbit. It's probably a hare. To 12,000 followers. So that's grown. So the audience on there, in my mind, is big enough to get enough customers from. The problem with Instagram is it's a flash in the pan of its very short term, with it being feed based, and whilst you could build a brand and whatnot from it, something I post on Instagram now is not likely to keep generating leads for the business in 6 months' time or a year's time. However, YouTube stuff is. So this is where I need to put some more focus on, because this is more of an evergreen strategy, and with everything that's changing with AI at the minute, I think now is probably more important than ever to do this sort of thing. So I just brought my phone, the microphone, and a very, very touristy selfie stick thing with me to film this, so that whilst I'm walking, if the mood strikes, I can talk about absolute nonsense, maybe make something useful. So yeah, that's the logic there. And then this week, what I'm thinking I'll probably do is I'll be relaunching 14 Strong. I'll run that again towards the end of this month, and I will offer people to sign up to the member site at the end of that instead of Basics But Better, and stop doing that. Test that out, see how that works. Good thing with that is, like, usually you get 100 to 200 people sign up to it, and off the back of that, 3 to 5 people sign up for Basics But Better. But I'm hoping that I'll get a higher intake because it's cheaper for the member site. Test that for scalability. I need to get some new ads up and running, some modules, and then from next week on, I'm going to start doing more sit-down filming videos that will go to the editors to do to make them look nice and stuff. And we'll set, so the goal that I've given myself to get YouTube to 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So it's August now, we're at 1,500. So yeah, by the end of the year, we'll be absolutely shredded, working towards a double bodyweight bench, YouTube to 2,000, member site, we have 200 by then. That would be fantastic. A couple more one-to-ones and then we'll be full, and all shall be good. Anyway, with that said, if you've watched this, subscribe, like, react, whatever, so that I know that it's worth doing. Take care.